Hello and welcome back. Today might be a little bit of a longer video, but I thought it would be a good idea to discuss the vehicle purchasing process with you guys, because if you're doing this for the first time, it might be quite a daunting process to go through. We're at our local Toyota and I'll be walking through their used car dealership just to give you something to look at while we are here. To give them a little bit of exposure, I'll just show you their details down below. Feel free to pop by and have a look at some of the wonderful vehicles they've got on offer. This is a very new arrival. The guy just traded this in this morning. This is a Land Cruiser 200 series VX V8. They just started this to, I guess, test the engine and so forth, like this one over there. Or if you would rather have 5 Polos, because it works out at the same amount of money at the end of the day. So yeah, in the comments just say 5 Polos or 300 series. I'm keen to see which one you guys would pick at the end of the day. Now let's jump into the process. I'll put chapters down below if you want to jump into any of the specific topics that we'll be covering. But I guess the most important piece to start off any process is to make sure you budget accordingly. Now this is the most boring piece, I know, but it's the most important piece as well, because this will ensure that you don't run into trouble down the line when stuff like interest rates increase, fuel price hikes. It's just important that you cover yourself, make sure you can afford whatever you are buying. Now there's 2 types of ways that you can buy a vehicle. You can buy it cash or you can finance it. Unfortunately, most of us are not in a position to buy a vehicle just for cash outright. So most of us will be financing, but we'll cover all or both those options in this video. So to start off from a budgeting perspective, what do you need to look at? If you're buying cash, this is a lot more straightforward, because all you'll do is see how much money do I have available to buy the car. If you've got 50,000 Rand, then you know you can't spend more than 50,000 Rand. Even though you just need to consider there's normally on the road fees that you need to cover as well, which is between 3,000 and 5,000 Rand. So just keep that in mind. If you're buying either cash or finance, it applies in both cases. But yeah, so the cash one is a little bit more straightforward. If you're planning on finance, or financing rather, it becomes a little bit more tricky, because now you need to factor in the installment that you'll need to pay, but you'll also need to consider a few other things on top of the installment. You'll typically need to have some sort of insurance in place if you're buying a vehicle on finance. So you need to make sure you can afford the insurance premium. Then there'll be fuel costs, there might be some maintenance costs that you need to cover as well. And it's important to leave a little bit of a buffer for interest rate movements or fuel price hikes that could occur over the period of your loan. So let's say, for an example, you are earning 10,000 Rand a month. The first thing to do is sum up all your expenses during the month. These will be things like food, water, electricity, any debt repayments that you might have in place, school fees, cell phone contracts, I guess those sort of things, life insurance policies, all the expenses that you sort of have on a monthly basis. And let's say for this example that comes to about 6,000 Rand for the month. That leaves 4,000 Rand available. It doesn't mean that that 4,000 Rand is what you'll be able to spend, because as I mentioned, there's a few other things that you'll need to be able to cover. So taking all of the other stuff into account, like insurance and fuel cost and all of those things, it might be that we can spend 3,000 or 2,000 Rand, depending on how much you're planning on spending on fuel or insurance. And then you can go to a website like the one that Westbank offers. I think We Buy Cars has got a similar thing, where you can go to the website, you can specify a price for the vehicle, your loan term, interest rate assumptions you can make. Normally prime plus 1, prime plus 2, I guess, is a good estimate. And that will give you an idea of what the monthly repayment will be like. Now, the other thing that you need to take into consideration here is the size of the deposit. On those websites, you'll see there's space for you to put in a deposit. So if you've got money lying around, you might be able to put down a deposit, which will reduce the loan amount that you need to take out at the end of the day. Now, having done all of this, you should have a good idea in terms of what the purchase price for the vehicle will be that you can afford. Then the next step begins, which I think is the most fun piece, and that is finding your perfect car. Now here, again, important just to see, what do I need in this vehicle? Do I need a small hatchback to get to work and back? Do I need a family sort of car? Will a sedan work, or do I need an SUV, which typically offers a little bit more space but could be a bit more expensive? And this will really be personal preference in terms of which vehicle you really need. The next thing to consider is, am I buying new or am I buying a used vehicle? With new vehicles, they typically come with a service plan, a maintenance plan. Those things tend to be in place. It's also a little bit more peace of mind because you are the first owner. If you've got any issues, you can just take it back to the dealership. For a used vehicle, there might be a few risks here. If you're buying from a reputable second-hand dealer, like the one we are visiting today, then again, you are covered in terms of taking a vehicle back if there's any issues. There might be the option to buy an extended warranty, or the vehicle might still be within a service plan. So that might work out well. However, if you're buying from a private seller, this might not always be the case. And I would really urge you, if you're buying from a private seller, really do your due diligence. Check that the vehicle hasn't been in any crashes. Send it for a DEKRA check. I think these things are necessary in today's market, where unfortunately there is a lot of crooks around. So it's important to cover yourself from that perspective. Then something else you need to check if you're buying used, look at the condition of the tires, guys. If the tires doesn't have a lot of tread left, that could easily be a big expense that you'll need to cover as soon as you get the vehicle. When they do the roadworthy checks on these vehicles, they will check tires, for instance. If it's sort of smooth, you'll need to replace that, and let's be honest, tires are not a cheap expense that you will need to cover right off the bat. The other big thing is the windscreen. If there's any cracks or chips in that, it will also not pass a roadworthy test off the back of that. Now, depending on new or used, once you find that vehicle, it's important to go for a test drive. Drive it how you would be driving it from day to day. If you'll be spending most of your time driving between shops, do that in the test drive. I also like to go on the highway, just drive it at a bit higher speeds. This is not always possible depending on where the location of the dealership is, but I think it's important to take it on a trip, put it on the highway, and just see at the higher speeds how the vehicle is doing. Is it making weird sounds that it's not supposed to be making? And if you don't know that much about cars, take someone with you that knows a little bit more about cars, just to give you that peace of mind. It is a big commitment that you are making, so it's important that you are buying the right vehicle and have peace of mind when doing so. One important thing on a test drive, at some point just brake a little bit harder than you would normally do. Feel for any vibrations coming through the pedals, coming through the steering wheel. This might point to some issues in the drivetrain, so just a good check that I like to do as well. Now let's say you found this dream car of yours. What are the next steps? Well, again, we'll split this up in terms of buying via cash or buying via finance. If you're buying via cash, you'll go to the dealership. You'll still need to bring a few documents. You'll need a proof of ID, so this could be an identification document or a driver's license, and you'll need a proof of address because they still need to do all the FICA stuff. And then you'll basically provide them with the proof of payment, however that might be an EFT, you might be swiping a card, and they'll do a bit of paperwork because the vehicle needs to be transferred from the dealership's name into your name, but they'll do all that paperwork for you, and the car will be yours. You don't need to hassle with insurance or all of that because you're taking all the risk in this case. If you're financing though, this process is a little bit different. In terms of documentation, you need a little bit more. Now, you can arrange your finance through the dealership. This typically is the easiest if it's your first time buying and you're not sure how to arrange this directly with your bank or with a different finance provider. So the easiest might be just to arrange this through the dealership. They can do this, they have all the forms available, but you'll need a few additional things if you want to go this route. You'll still need a copy of your ID, you'll need a copy of your driver's license, you'll need a proof of residence or address, and then you'll need proof of income. This would typically be your latest 3 months pay slips, and they would also typically look at your latest 3 bank statements. Then they will have an application form that you will need to complete and submit, and on these forms you'll typically need to fill out some of your expenses as well, as we covered in the budget section. Then the dealer will do all of this paperwork. They will submit it to all the different banks that they typically work with, and come back with different offers from the different banks. Now, yeah, it's important to weigh up the different conditions that the banks set on these. Look at the interest rate that they are offering, the term that they are offering, and if there's any residual or balloon payment at the end of the contract. This is something you'll need to consider. Not all of these will be similar. Depending on the time of year, it could be that one institution is a bit more hard up for business than other ones, so they might be offering more favorable terms. So it's important to weigh these up. Don't just go with your bank where you're banking every day. If they're not offering the best deal, either go back to them and saying, listen, I can get this cheaper somewhere else, or just go somewhere else. Having to pay a higher premium over 5 years, it's going to leave a dent. So it's important that you just have a look at this and cover this. Now, once you've accepted this quote with your bank, what you then need to do is get insurance in place. So part of the terms and conditions for your contract with the bank will be that your vehicle will be insured. This guy just took delivery of his brand new Hilux. Beautiful. Let me know, double cab or SUV? It's a question that I've been struggling with for a while. Which one do you prefer? In any case, where were we? Around insurance. So you'll need to arrange this with insurance provider. Sometimes the banks do insurance as well. Otherwise, you can hop onto Hippo, you can call Outsurance, any of those, to get an insurance quote on your vehicle. And then you'll need to get this insurance in place, because the bank will at some point ask you for a proof of insurance. So that will be a document that your insurer will provide that you need to send on to the bank. And what the bank will do with that proof of insurance is just load that on their system. This is necessary because if something happens to the vehicle, the bank will be lending you money and you'll need to repay the bank, but you won't have the vehicle anymore. So the insurance policy will then cover, I guess, any losses that you might occur. So it really protects you. It also protects the bank. So it's important to get that in place. After you've done this, the bank will issue what is called a delivery note. And that is something that you will need to sign. And once you sign that, the bank will pay the dealership. So it's important, once you view the vehicle, that you really hash out any of the issues that you still have in place with the vehicle. If there's any scratches, any bubbles in the paint, tires, rims, these sort of things, make sure that you finalize those details with the dealership before you sign this delivery note. Typically, they are pushing quite hard for you to sign this because before you sign this, they don't get paid. But don't be pressured into signing it if you're not comfortable yet. Like I said, as soon as they sign this, the bank will pay them the money, so then the process is basically done. So once you sign the delivery note, the bank will pay the dealership and you'll be free to drive off with your brand new wheels. Something to just keep into consideration is that the vehicle will be registered with you as the owner, but the finance institution or bank will be registered as the title holder. Now, what does that mean? That means that the bank will keep the NATIS document, which is sort of the registration document for the vehicle, and they will typically keep this for the entire term of the loan. Why are they doing this? Because they have an interest in the vehicle. They sort of own it until you finish paying it. So this is the one reason. The other reason is you can't sell the vehicle without being both the owner as well as the title holder. So in this way, if the vehicle was to be sold, the bank would need to be involved, and what they would do is first take the portion that is still owed to them from the price that you're selling the vehicle for, and then any remainder funds will be paid over to you. So yeah, that's the process, guys. If there's any questions or anything is unclear, please let me know in the comments and we'll look at clarifying or clearing up some of that for you. If you've seen any vehicles in this video while we were walking around that you would like more information on, let me know. This dealership is not far from me, so I can easily pop by and do a more detailed review on any of these. Some of them are quite pricey, but some of them are a little bit more affordable, like this Urban Cruiser, for example. That's the video for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for all the support on the channel. I really appreciate all the comments, all the likes, all the subscriptions. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.